Ladies and gents, welcome to the very first episode of the Carlyle podcast. I'm your host, Max Carlyle.
Hello and welcome to this very special episode of the Carlyle podcast because I believe this is the first episode that I'm recording in a post-COVID-19 society. So, when was it? 2 days ago that we all got the command to be essentially on lockdown. Was it 2 days ago, Shaun?
It was Monday, wasn't it?
Yeah, Monday. So, what, 3 days ago?
3
2 days ago. See, like, it's only the third day.
The days are all blending into one.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm already losing my mind. You seen that meme? You know the meme of the say like I'm trying to think of a good footballing example. You know when like RB Salzburg play Leipzig, and there's like the Spider-Man meme of them both shooting webs at each other. You seen the meme going around of there's like 7 of them. It's got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, I seen that yesterday.
So yeah, we are at Thursday, and as Shaun said, all the days seem to be blending into one. The big man in number 10 with the blonde mop on his head, Mr. Boris Johnson, addressed the nation and said, if your friends ask you to meet, you should say no. So
you should not be meeting friends. If your friends ask you to meet, you should say no.
That's the one. So me and Shaun now are recording a quarantine special podcast over Skype. Funnily enough as well, I had I made an appearance on Talksport last night. 12 o'clock, they love giving me the death slots, you know, whenever the producers ring me up, they're always like, do you want to come on at 4 in the morning? I'm like, yeah, go ahead.
The graveyard.
Yeah, the graveyard shifts.
You're on there, though. That's what I mean.
Exactly. But nicely enough, the podcast got a little mention by the producer Paul Ross, I believe his name is. He noted that I was a host of my own podcast and got that out there to the listeners of Talksport. Yeah, so it's, you know, that's nice. It's interesting to see the progression of this podcast now, because this will be the 8th or the 9th installment, and already I've had people reaching out for me asking for.
Like, how long has it been since? Not since episode 1, but like since I think you came to my house in Manchester and you sat down. You were writing like the equipment list and planning it out. Like, how long since then? Since like the inception of the idea to now?
Well, as I said, you've always been one of the main driving forces as to like trying to motivate me to do a podcast, because like
that's just because I wanted to be on a podcast. And it's my own.
But like, I think one thing that me and you both share in common is that we're what we offer to the world is in a creative capacity, if that makes sense. We're we're creative minds in a sense. I don't think we're meant for the 9 to 5 lifestyle. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but like, you know, the world revolves around it and we wouldn't get anywhere without it. But I just think the type of mentalities that we both have, I feel like we need to sort of address that creative desire, otherwise we'd sort of wither and die. So the idea's been there for absolutely ages, to be honest. But yeah, I remember sitting there planning the list. But yeah, but as I was saying, like, people have been reaching out to me, trying to get on. Like, they've been saying, like, oh, I really like what you're doing with it. I like the concept of the podcast. Obviously, while I'm in uni, it's sort of tailored to those in the sports industry. And
Yeah,
obviously
that's
it's
what I love about it, lad. Like, it's not obviously when you first the original idea was it was going to be a football podcast, but I feel like the way you've decided not to like pigeonhole the podcast as a sports podcast, it's sort of open mind. It's just a podcast for anybody really, um, especially for uni students as well. Like I think it'd be really cool to get students on as guests because I think what could be cool about that is you could get say somebody studying towards a specific subject, they could get on and just talk about that subject, and that'd help listeners who are also studying the same thing to learn about it. But it'd also help the person on the podcast to explain it in a way that they wouldn't be able to do just in an essay. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I don't know. I think it can. Obviously, it's still early doors. It's only what, as you said, 8 or 9 episodes in. Like, it's still early doors. Like, it could be anything so far. I just like the excuse to sit down and have a 3-hour conversation with no distraction. Really, that's what I like about it.
No, 100%. It's funny that you mentioned that sort of the student niche. A friend of mine who's in a band that actually allowed me to
Have you
use
got
one of
other friends?
funny, you'd ever thought about being a comedian?
Only messing.
But a mate of mine who's in a band, I think it's biology, he studies at uni. He allowed me to use one of his tracks for the intro music. Originally, I wanted to use a Hendrix solo, but BR's being in it.
Yeah, you don't want to get sued 8 episodes in.
So yeah, me mate Phil, thanks Phil. But he said, obviously I was discussing the podcast with him, and in terms of inspiration, he went Scouse Rogan. I was like, you know what, not far wrong. That's the sort of concept behind it. But speaking of Rogan, given that we're all essentially behind closed doors for the foreseeable future, that has been one of the main things that I've been doing, is just watching Rogan podcasts back to back to back, and hats off to the man. Yeah, hats off to the man for being an absolute content machine. He's getting all like the original podcast goats on
Yeah,
as
he's
of late.
ridiculous, isn't he?
I'm trying to think. I watched one with Tom Segura today. Bear Chrysler. I can't pronounce his second name. How do you say his second name? That's the one.
Chrysler.
Yeah, he was on earlier, and tonight, and I'm gonna resume watching it the moment that we hang up. He's just dropped one with my personal favorite podcaster, Joey Coco Diaz. So
I did another one tonight. Yeah.
yeah, he's just
'Cause he
uploaded
did
one
one in
with Joey.
was it February? They did one.
Yeah,
Oh, sick. Okay.
yeah. It's just the greatest podcast combo of all time, in
He's
my opinion.
tremendous, isn't he? Like when you listen to him, like he's like not only is he hilarious, Joey Diaz, but he's also one of the most interesting people you can listen to talk. Like the amount of shit that he's been through in his life, like good shit and bad shit. Like I could literally sit down and listen to him talk for an entire day and would not get bored.
No, 100%. Just, as you say, everything about the man. He's lived through highs and he's lived through lows, and his
Yeah.
storytelling ability is just second to none. Like, I genuinely cannot think of someone else who's better at telling stories than that man.
Apparently he's been writing a memoir,
Yeah.
autobiography. But like he's been a guest on so many different podcasts throughout the past like 4 or 5 years, and he's mentioned the fact that he's writing his memoirs so many times that I feel like
It's never gonna get done.
just hurry up, right? You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of people who want to read that. Just hurry up and write it. Stop talking about it and write it.
Well, he's
Like Joey Diaz 101. That's something I'd read.
exactly, like, the thing is, I often sort of have this internal struggle with, what is my talent? And ever since I was a kid, I was always told that I was a very talented writer. You know what I mean? Like my ability to express through the written word. And I feel like um, quite recently, actually, I'd say over the last 5 years, the sort of influx of video streaming platforms that, and for example, audiobooks and podcasts themselves, like the written words almost become kind of redundant. And obviously, when I was pitching the idea of the podcast and doing research behind the podcast market, I found that the market for those that can listen, like, is bigger as those who can read. So you can reach so many more people by podcast.
Yeah.
And Joey Diaz is just recently. It's weird because it's a 4-part series. Essentially, there's another comedian called Ryan Sickler. He's got his own podcast, and Joey's been going on there and essentially telling his life stories from moving from Cuba as a young lad, and basically living one of the most
Jersey in the 70s.
back in Boulder in '83. Like, just
Boulder, Colorado.
Oh, he's just absolutely fantastic. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I've been an absolute student of podcasts during this lockdown. I also watched Seven this morning.
Oh, right, this morning.
Yeah.
What time is this?
Because
Is this like set an alarm because I've got movies to watch kind of thing? Like set an alarm early.
reached out to me and wanted me to appear on Talksport, didn't he? And he was like 12 o'clock. And by 10 o'clock last night, mate, I was flagging. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, I just want to go to bed.
Yeah.
So I had to drown myself in caffeine to stay awake for this radio appearance. And you know me, lad. Ever since
I would have put I would have suspended my prejudice against Talksport for a little while to listen to me mate on the radio.
That's another thing I actually wouldn't mind addressing, because obviously, like, I am a representative of this at Everton newsfeed / the Toffee Blues. Like, John, if you're listening, hi John, but I don't like the name the Toffee Blues. I don't like the name Toffee Blues. Everton newsfeed just rolls off the tongue and it sounds cooler. You know what I mean? As a representative as those guys, I'm not gonna miss an opportunity to sort of get yous out there, because I know there's a group of lads there who don't work away at producing content and trying to put Everton in the public eye. I don't even know if that's the right phrase, given a Premier League team, because the growth of the Premier League over the past couple of years. Like, there's seems like when you go onto the likes of Twitter, it's just nothing but football.
I get what you mean. No, it's like, and not to be sort of like talking down to an Everton fan. I know exactly what you mean about getting them out there. It's like there's the big six that are all over the world, and then there's the rest of the league.
No. Listen, mate, I was sort of deliberating this the other day, because there's something that I've noticed lately. Obviously, there's been a lot of different content producers have been sort of debating the future of Jadon Sancho, and there's not more than I hate than sort of content producers who do those things where they edit a kit of another club onto a player.
Like a concept, like it's this season's kit on player. Yeah, I get exactly what you mean.
And there's nothing but gossip, essentially newspaper talk, linking this wonderful talent.
Photoshop, like, whoever does it's always terrible at Photoshop. Well, it's always like they'll pick like a white dude and then put Jadon Sancho's face on the body. You know what I mean?
But
And it's like, Jesus Christ. Like, imagine Jadon Sancho saw that. Obviously, he's going to be like, it's ridiculous.
I agree 100%. If my opinion counts anything, just don't do them. There's better things to do with
Yeah.
your time. But
Like,
what my
the
point is,
written word would do just as well.
100%. Let me just finish my point. I see in Jadon Sancho, and he was edited onto open commas the big six clubs in England.
Yeah.
So, but my thing is, I mean, obviously Leicester won the league in 2016 and
Yeah.
have sort of catapulted their status now. But
But they are a big six club.
Everton, we're always that seventh club, all looking at least to, gate crash. So particularly under David Moyes and under Roberto Martinez, we'd get there and we'd be fifth, we'd be sixth.
Especially in like the 2000s, like 2004, 2005, right up until around 2010, definitely like Everton were always definitely outside the top four, but within the top 10.
Yeah, like
I've always been up there, yeah.
Everton,
But like in recent years, maybe like the last 10 years, it's been a bit lower, but
no, last
like Everton, kind of team who can't catch a break.
last 5 years,
Yeah.
I'd say,
Yeah.
because to me, Everton should always be in European football. I grew up. Obviously, I knew the struggles from the 90s, but to me, Everton should always be competing in European football. But obviously now, I'm I was going to look it up, but hopefully I can sort of say it verbatim from football. I think it's from, obviously there's the pyramid. I think it's like the Northwest Counties League and the National League. I think the National League's still up in the air, but it's getting to the point now where some seasons are just being declared null and void. Does that worry you a little bit, Shaun?
Do you mean as a Liverpool fan being top of the league?
Yeah.
It does worry me, yeah, but at the same time, like I know deep down that it's not gonna get like it's not gonna become void this season. It's too far into the season. There's around like 10 games left.
Mm.
They're not just gonna scratch it and like wipe the slate clean and start again from next season. That's not gonna happen. I don't even think come late August we're gonna be over all the stuff what's going on to be ready to start a new season. To be honest with you, but like another thing is the Euros and the Olympics and things like that have been suspended till next year.
Mm-hmm.
I just obviously it's a bit of a pain, waiting for. Obviously, I'm 23. I've been waiting 23 years to see Liverpool win the Premier League. And people older than me have been waiting 30 years to see them win the league again. But it's a bit of a pain. It's the most Liverpool thing ever, to be honest, that would happen. That right in the middle of the first time we're nailed on to win the league, 22 points clear, there would be a complete international disaster across the entire world. But at the end of the day, it's going to happen whether we have to wait a few months or not. It doesn't really matter. I do believe it's going to happen. And as football is the most important of unimportant things, I feel like in this crazy time where people are losing their lives and things like that to do with the coronavirus, like I feel like, I know it sounds silly, but knowing that eventually everything's going to go back to the way it was and we're going to be able to finish all the things that we were in the middle of a month ago, sort of excites you and gets you through.
Okay.
What
Yeah,
if Liverpool are going to be Premier League champions?
okay. I mean, I understand it. I understand that the angle that you're coming from. Because I know the Premier League and the FA have come out and said they're gonna reconsider the date that they resume, because originally they decided on the 30th of April, but I think it doesn't take a genius to.
It was going to be the 4th originally. Liverpool was supposed to play the derby against Everton on the 4th.
No, but what I'm saying is that that was the first round of fixtures that got wrote off.
And they got suspended and suspended again and suspended again.
Yeah, and they were gonna look to resume play from the 30th of April, but they've come out now and said they're going to reconsider a date, because I'm saying it doesn't take a genius to figure out that it's going to take a lot longer before we're out this current pandemic.
I think it's funny, all the people talking 3 weeks on Twitter. Like, are you people paying attention? Like, come on.
Twitter's not real life. Twitter's just full of.
I know, it's ridiculous, that.
Twitter's full of girls in Fiat 500s just wanting to go for a Nando's and get the nails done, mate.
Most recently is, let's say 5 hours ago, I was in a argument about politics with my girlfriend's 2 uncles on Twitter. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh.
But that, like, I didn't even do anything. I just retweeted something. It wasn't like I voiced my opinion on it. I just retweeted something, and then all of a sudden, it's not like 2 strangers. It's like relatives of my partner.
Yeah.
Attacking me. Like, know what I mean? Like, the next family gathering's going to be quite awkward now. I don't know whether to bring it up or just, like, Twitter's not real life, yeah, of course, but do I bring it up or what? I don't know. Ridiculous.
You broke up a bit on me there, but I'll just, because I touched on it briefly there, but the most recent thing that I've come under fire for on Twitter was obviously the TalkSport appearance, and I don't know, with Everton newsfeed at the minute, sometimes, and given the current situation, obviously my initial actions and my gut instincts were right. Family time, as stressful as that can be, check up on them, see how they are, and just make sure everything's orderly with the family. So I've just sort of took a back seat in terms of content production. I wouldn't mind actually doing a couple of podcasts during this time, because everybody's got time to kill, so it seemed like an ideal time to get content out there. But in terms of Everton newsfeed and with the football being off, I haven't quite been in the mood to flex me football and brain, if that makes sense. But obviously I made the TalkSport appearance last night. They promoted it, they put it out there, and a guy, I forget his name, and I apologise, but I know he engages quite often with the stuff that I put out there, and he had a swipe promoting TalkSport essentially, and I want to go on the record here and say, fuck the Sun. Like, I've been on TalkSport before, and a presenter's mentioned the Sun as as a sort of resource, and I've denounced it
as a genuine source of information.
Yeah, it was something to do with Wayne Rooney, and I denounced it straight away. I was like, I don't take stock in anything that comes from that rag, to be honest. And it's obviously such a grey area I don't think grey area is the right term actually, but it's a sort of sticky subject as a media student, because essentially I think the company is News Corp, if I'm not wrong, but they literally have a hand in the majority of mainstream media that gets out there. Now, as the audience know, with me being host and pushing my own podcast, I want to be independent. I mean, I've collaborated with BBC, the Liverpool Echo. I've collaborated with a whole host of sort of media outlets. But at the end of the day, you know, as my mate Phil says, Scouse Rogan. I want my own studio, and I want to be able to do my own thing. I think the fact that the Sun being the most read newspaper in this country knocks me absolutely sick. I think it's the standard of journalism is absolutely appalling. From everything from the subject matter to the choice of English that they use, to the mode of address that they use to communicate with their audience. It physically makes me feel sick. So, hopefully people can understand now that I would, I'd rather be dead than associate myself with them. However, as I was saying, if you've got a Sky subscription, should you not come under fire then? You see what I'm saying?
How do you mean?
Because Sky is under that same umbrella of News Corp.
Oh, right, okay, fair enough.
So, see, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's horrible. It's not nice, but it's the sort of territory that you're operating on as a media student. As I said, I don't want to be. I don't want to become subject to that sort of abuse. I don't want to say abuse because it wasn't even abuse, but it's not a discussion that I want to have. I want people to know where to stand on it. So hopefully, after I so eloquently put it, people know how I feel about it. But just to sort of push on. I mean, obviously, I made that radio appearance at 12 o'clock midnight this morning. And Shaun, as long as you've known me, mate, I'm fucking nocturnal. My sleeping pattern's absolutely dreadful. So, like, between waking up at like 6 o'clock,
I
7 o'clock.
that time you text me before 3 o'clock in the afternoon, to be honest.
So, yeah, I think when I woke up, had a bit of breakfast, did a prison workout is going to be
Oh, yeah,
the norm.
how are you coping in the house, training and that, if you can't leave the house?
You there? He broke up at me.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, so I
How
did
are
a
you
bit.
training in the house if you can't go to the gym?
You are?
How are you coping if you're training in the house? If you can't go to the gym, how are you getting on?
Pretty rough, I mean, I've got dumbbells and I've got a medicine ball, but I
Oh,
haven't got like a bench.
yeah.
I haven't got a couple of things. So obviously, workouts are becoming very, very limited. Shout out to Ben Knight at Predators MMA, who's been putting stuff on his Instagram platforms, and I think he's also pissed off that he can't go to the gym, and I feel that pain.
I
But
bet.
as I say, hats off to him for putting a sort of workout plan out there, because I followed that with the equipment that I had. Did a bit of a workout, stuck, as I said, stuck 7 on. First and foremost, what a film directed by David Fincher, and what a performance by Morgan Freeman, Shaun.
I know, it's tremendous, isn't it?
Absolutely
It's,
sensational.
did you see, speaking of David Fincher, did you see what he did yesterday?
No.
So he, so obviously with the university sort of thing that's going on now, like a lot of like most universities have closed down, basically like closed the doors and the students can't turn up and things like that. A lot of classes have gone online now. So there's a film school in England that have obviously like followed suit and closed the doors, and they're doing online classes.
Mm-hmm.
And so 450 students log in yesterday morning, to take an online class at university, and it's only David Fincher side of the camera, basically teaching a film class from his house while he's on lockdown. But the thing is, the kids who logged in didn't know that it was going to be him. They were just expecting like their regular tutor, and yeah, they just log in, and the director of The Social Network and Seven and Gone Girl, Fight Club is just sitting on the other side of the laptop. like ready to talk about movies.
That's
Ridiculous.
that's absolutely incredible. And but yeah, absolutely fantastic film. What's in the box? That reminds me of because what we've also been blessed with during this time of quarantine is some fantastic music's been getting dropped.
Or like the Weeknd's new album.
The Weeknd come out with After Hours finally after months.
Yeah.
He's finally dropped it. Thank you, Abel.
You know what? It sounds. I think this new Weeknd album. It sounds like nothing he's ever done before. But it sounds like the first album. It sounds like the first time the Weeknd has completely made his own album. Like it feels completely the Weeknd,
Yeah,
even though it's like his whatever, like his sixth album or something.
yeah.
It feels like the first time it's completely his own, like his own vision, start to finish.
Have you seen any of the music videos?
I haven't, and I'll tell you for why. The first time I listened to the album was yesterday because I've been saving it. That makes sense.
Yeah,
I have been waiting for the right time to jump into it, basically. So I listened to it start to finish yesterday, but I've stayed away from the music videos because I wanna know the songs first before I see the visuals,
yeah,
and I feel like I don't know the songs yet.
yeah. I get you. I mean,
I'm slacking a little bit, to be fair. I have left it. I've left it a few days, but I'm going at my own pace. Leave me alone.
no, you've got every right to, and you've got nothing but time in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you'd absolutely love it. You know, he's going with like a obviously like the album sounds very 80s, the sort of
Yeah.
sound that it's out with, and he's gone for like this for like a slasher horror approach
With
with
the
his
aesthetics and stuff like that, with the bloody nose and the blood on his teeth and the
yeah,
like that. Yeah,
yeah.
I love it.
I'm not gonna
I love it when musicians like when they bring when they bring a new they bring a new album out, but they also bring a new aesthetic with it.
yeah,
Like it's like another layer on top of the music, and like
yeah,
wear like the same stuff when they're playing live. Like they have like a sort of outfit, like a uniform, like a costume when they're
mm,
playing live. Things like that. I love all that stuff.
yeah.
I,
You'll love the In Your Eyes video. The proper like 80s slasher. It's brilliant, and I've got
yeah.
to say,
Have we got the? Are we allowed to play it, or are we going to get sued?
oh no, we
No.
can't play it. I haven't got that confidence in myself
Okay.
just yet, mate.
Yeah.
But his dress sense is fucking impeccable, if I do say so myself. The
like
suits that he's
a
been,
burgundy suit or something like that.
woo,
Yeah.
next level. Something else I was gonna say as well. Childish Gambino just out of nowhere dropped the full album.
I know, lads. Like out of nowhere.
Mm,
Like no build up, no album artwork, no. He hasn't even got any titles for the songs. They're all just timestamps.
mm,
Just completely out of nowhere.
I know. And someone resurfaced a tweet from I think it was an interview with Complex that he come out with and said um, Donald Glover said that he likes surfing the internet through anonymous accounts and going on like Twitter through anonymous accounts.
Yeah.
So the thought that we've possibly interacted with Childish Gambino and not even known it is quite an interesting thought to
I
have.
think I think I think Childish Gambino, well, Donald Glover, I think he might be my favourite contemporary artist, to be honest. Um,
Really?
definitely. Like it's not even just his music, it's everything else. It's his writing and his acting and his TV shows and things like that and his short films. Like he's such a he's such a role model for people who want to express themselves but don't know really the correct way to do it. Like, obviously, you've got to, if you want to express yourself artistically, there's a lot of different ways to do that, whether it be music or like acting or writing or filmmaking. I feel like he's one of the very rare people who are still active today who don't really, they haven't really sort of, they haven't chose one and stuck with it.
Yeah.
He doesn't really say I'm a rapper or I'm an actor. He's an artist, and he'll use any form of art to express what he wants to express at
Yeah.
any given time. And I think it's brave, because obviously if you feel like you're not an expert in something, so for example, if he's a rapper and he says I'm going to move over into comedy, obviously there's a lot of, you're gonna get a lot of people telling you that you should just stick to your lane, which he did when he moved from acting and comedy to rap. He got a lot of people telling him to just stick to what they know him from. But I have got so much admiration for someone who's brave enough to just be sort of fluid with their expression.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, I've only really, I don't know if paid attention, because I've always sort of respected his art, as it were, but I've only sort of thoroughly listened to it over the last couple of months. And I mean, I still need to watch Atlanta, because I've heard Atlanta's absolutely fantastic.
You need to.
Yeah, I've heard that. But is is Tyler the Creator a fair comparison, or is there big differences?
Well, I'm not sure that
Because I've found it's in terms of his music. I mean, Bone, some of that, like, I really vibe with, but his sound otherwise is quite an acquired taste.
What else does he do, like, outside of his music? Does he do anything else?
Tyler the Creator.
Yeah.
I don't know. My brother's big into Tyler the Creator, and that's really not my scene, to be honest with you. Like, I've tried it, and I'm not into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I just think there's, as I said, like, it comes across like it's a certain sort of acquired taste. You know what I'm like, lad? I'm pure hip hop, like 90s hip hop and fucking gangster rap. But
Who do you
nah,
like Biggie and that?
what? Nah, fuck Biggie, Tupac all
Why?
the way. Because I've watched enough documentaries. I mean, I need to
But I
read, like,
think just musically, like,
oh, musically, I've got a lot, obviously Biggie's considered one of the goats, and rightly so in terms
do
of
you
his.
consider him one of the goats? That's my question.
You what?
Do you consider him one of the goats?
Skill set wise, so in terms of his sort of verbal performance and his delivery, yes. Not so much his storytelling ability, because that's one of the big things that appeals to me. If you're a storyteller, you're on the map for me. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I look for in my um in the artists that I consume. If you've got a good storytelling ability, and obviously that does require, you know, cadence, flow. Um, it also helps if you've got decent beats in there. That's why I do consider, like, Tupac
Yeah.
probably is the greatest of all time. I mean, I've got a proper left field pick when it comes to who I consider the greatest of all time. I don't know if I've mentioned it before, or do you know it? Have I told you who I think is the greatest of all time?
No, you have. Yeah. Go on, remind me.
Dr. Dre.
All right. No, I thought you were gonna say Kendrick Lamar.
No,
And it is.
Kendrick's definitely in the conversation, and it wouldn't surprise me if people do say he's the greatest after he's gone. You know what I mean? But he's still young and he's still producing art.
Yeah.
And I seen something today from I think it was a hip hop by numbers or debating hip hop, one of those two accounts, which are great, where I get a lot of sort of content from. That
Yeah.
to Pimp a Butterfly is considered the best rap album of all time, which is absolutely fucking insane, considering I think that only came out like what 5-6 years ago. Like it was it was ranked above like Illmatic and Ready to Die.
Graduation.
Yeah, I think
I
Graduation
think
was in
so.
there as well.
Quite hilarious about two white kids debating what's the best rap album of all time.
Exactly, lad.
Yeah.
That's the irony of it. Like,
Have you seen that meme of like the three kids sitting around the table?
I think so.
It's like, is insert topic actually overrated? It's like me and you right now talking about rap as if we're experts.
If you want, so my like this is I when I'm talking about like I think, to be fair, when I'm talking about like Tupac, I mean I did experience Dre. I mean, as you say, we're two white kids from Liverpool. Like, I listened to a hell of a lot of Eminem, hence probably from me respect and admiration for Dr. Dre.
Yeah.
So obviously I wasn't alive and kicking when NWA were in the prime. So obviously that's through like revision, what I know and what I've learned. But so purely from a subjective standpoint, to me, 2014 Forest Hills Drive is the best modern classic hip hop album that's out there, if you've listened to it.
I've listened to it, yeah, on your recommendation.
Yeah. When?
In 2014 when you told me to.
But
Yeah, I don't know, I don't really think
I'm a
consider
J. Cole
myself
fan.
on modern hip hop, to be honest. I don't know how much of a companion I'll be in this conversation, but I'm happy to listen.
Yeah, I've got to be honest with you, lad. I don't know how much. I bet you half of the audience have turned off by now.
Do you want to just drop it, Max?
Yeah, we'll drop. I'm sorry. I like hip hop, okay, and I like talking about it.
What have you been doing to keep yourself occupied during this quarantine?
So yeah, watching podcasts, watching films. I think because I've rediscovered like a stash of DVDs, and I think Inglorious Bastards might be next.
It's okay.
Yeah, I've been obviously doing whatever weights that I can with what I've got at my disposal, and I've been going on silly 10-mile runs that literally break my legs, and I'm banged up for like the next couple of days. Hence why I've been listening to so much music.
Hence why you asked me to do a podcast with you.
Yeah, I mean, I've just I come before this podcast. I come back off a run, as a bevy, and I thought, you know what, I'm laxed. Let's do a podcast in it. So yeah, and I've also, because I know this is something in the itinerary that you want to cover. Obviously, as I said, I've gone back to check on the family. I've rigged the Xbox up, and I thought, and I don't know whether or not he's listening to this, but my mate David Hughes, hi David.
Hi, David.
I seen that he put up on Instagram that he was playing like FIFA 17 or something. Just to just go through the archives of the FIFAs. I mean, FIFA 20 is the first FIFA in a long time that I haven't bought. I mean, I got 19, but I don't know why. I just weren't fancying getting 20. So I went back onto FIFA 17 and looked at my Everton career mode. And Shaun, the team that I built, mate, it's exceptional.
Is it?
Yeah, Timo Horn, the clone,
Yeah.
goalie in goal. Andreas Christensen and Virgil van Dijk at centre half. This is
Right, okay.
before he'd even moved to Liverpool.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Mohamed Dahoud from from Gladbach. I think has he gone back or is he at Dortmund still?
Dortmund, didn't he?
Yeah, he's still at Dortmund. Dahoud, Romelu Lukaku, of course, and Christian Bakambu up front. I think I had Yannick Carrasco and Kevin Morales still somehow on the wings.
Jamie Carragher, did he? If Jamie Carragher didn't realise that he'd got himself in for a life of depression and being miserable and switched to being a red. Sorry, lad.
But
only a matter of time.
I went back. I went onto the transfer market and acquired some of the. I just had a little browse to see some of the stars of today. They were ripping it up. I signed James Maddison, Kylian Mbappe, Benjamin Pavard, and who else did I sign? Theo Hernandez from Atletico Madrid. Literally for a combined transfer fee of like £20 million for the lot of them. Like, it cost me absolutely nothing.
I don't think I ever went back to an old FIFA ever.
No,
not once. No, I don't think so.
Sort of.
I got FIFA 20 for nothing as well.
Leave them in the past.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, once the new one's out, like I don't see the point, to be honest. But I got FIFA 20 for nothing.
One of my mates said that it is the worst installments, and I mean, you could probably say that about any of them that comes out. There's always something that someone dislikes about the latest installment. You know what I mean? I don't know what it is.
I've barely played it, to be honest. I don't know. I got sort of bored of football games. But I got it for nothing. I went on the store, the PlayStation store. Like, I didn't buy the disc. I just went on there, and it was on sale for like £26 in December or January. Yeah. And I didn't have a penny in my PlayStation wallet, but I just clicked purchase anyway, just to see what happened. And it fucking started downloading and installed. I just got it for nothing. Yeah, just like straight off the bat.
Happy days.
But I haven't really played it, to be honest. I've got kind of bored of football games because, I mean, I don't know, I'm just over them, to be honest. I mean, I still play every now and again, but I don't really play online, so there's only so much you can do offline with a football game.
Yeah.
Or it just gets
fun. It does. I mean, I've always been a big career mode merchant. Like, I've loved creating a career mode and running with it. Like, I think when I was in high school, I actually utilised Ultimate Team and I like playing against my mates and all that. But the beast.
Oh, sorry.
I hate my ears.
Sorry, lad.
The beast that Ultimate Team's turned into today, where it seemed like it cost you a tenner just to play every time. Doesn't appeal to me in the slightest.
That's why career mode's so bad, because it doesn't make any money. But Ultimate Team does, so that's where all the focus is from the developers. And like every 5 years you get like sort of a, in quotations, big update with career modes, but it's not really that big.
Yeah, like you get a cutscene in the manager's office and it's the best thing since sliced bread. Yeah. But what is it about video games that you wanted to talk about? Because, right, I'll tell you this, Shaun, right? So I moved into my new student place like last summer, yeah.
Yeah.
And I bought my Xbox and that, and I was like, right, okay, not a bad setup. Like I like the way it was set up. I had literally, I thought at least that I could play my Xbox while being in bed because it's just like directly straight in front of me. But the bleeding TV in the place didn't have a HDMI port.
Yeah.
So I can't play any sort of video games. So I mean, I've just
You're gonna want to sort that out.
I think I've just had to let it go, to be honest with you.
Just get over it. Yeah.
That's what I mean. I haven't played video game properly, literally, until now.
Since you've come home.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought, well, while we've been locked down, I've sort of like revisited like old games that I haven't played in a while. This is before the official lock, like when Boris Johnson told us it was the law now to be locked down. This was when the virus first came, like when people were first saying you should be socially distancing. I sort of just took to it straight away.
Don't need
how interested I am.
don't need
so
any excuse to socially isolate.
yeah, I don't need any excuse to sit in my bedroom for an entire day. I've been doing it for 23 years. So I don't know. I went back to like the Uncharted games and things like that, and I remember when Uncharted 4, which is the most recent one, first came out. I was talking to me parents about it, and I told them that I cried at the end of the game, and they couldn't they couldn't understand why or how like a video game could make somebody cry, because to the older generation, a video game is Pong or Pac-Man, but to our generation, it's come so far that we've got 60-hour stories with motion capture graphics. So you've got actors on a soundstage playing these parts in stories that can last over 60 hours, that you play essentially the lead character yourself. So you get so invested in these stories that, especially with the Uncharted series, which is 4 games over 9 years or 10 years, like see, you follow these same characters like I grew up with these characters the same way our parents grew up with characters from the original Star Wars and things like that. So when you get to the end of a game series like that, and the writing's so well done, that the writers they're basically trying to get you to cry on purpose. Like, they understand that you empathize with these characters, otherwise you wouldn't have bought 4 games over the last 10 years. But they understand how invested the player base is, and they're trying to manipulate it into getting upset, basically, and it fucking works, man, because you get so invested. But like, my parents, they couldn't really get their head around the fact that it was a video game that was making me cry. But it just shows how far like gaming's actually come, especially in the last like 15, 20 years. Does that make sense?
Crying at a fucking video game, like, come on, what's up here? Nah, I'm only messing, Shaun. I understand.
Miss it, lad. Like,
No, I understand.
spent
No, I
10
get you.
years with Nathan Drake and his wife and his our mate Sully with the muzzy and the cigars, and then you see what happens at the end of the game. Like, you're gonna cry. You know what I mean?
I mean, I'm trying to rack my brain. I'm trying to think of the last sort of game that I had that level of emotional attachment to, that it
But the
actually
thing
hit
is,
me.
you just said you don't really play any other games than FIFA, and especially
No,
career mode. So
no.
no
I,
sort of story to that. Know what I
I,
mean?
I said to you previously, because we
Yeah.
we put a podcast episode in the battle. Whether that will be released, we'll never know. But I said to you in that, essentially, as you know, in my sort of video game playing prime in those days, I was very much Call of Duties, Assassin's Creed, Grand Theft Autos,
Yeah.
your FIFAs.
But did you play Spider-Man, the PS4 Spider-Man that came
No,
out a couple of years ago?
I haven't got PS4,
Well, have you got an Xbox?
Xbox One.
Like gimp you, lad. Anyway, the Spider-Man PS4 games are another example of like how a game can impact you the same way that a film can. It's so obviously anybody who picks up that Spider-Man game and plays it obviously already has a pre-existing relationship with the character of Spider-Man. You've seen a Spider-Man movie, you've read, know what I mean? You've read a comic, you've played another game, you've seen a movie. But with that game, they didn't approach the story as if it was a video game. They approached the story like any other, like it was a movie or a comic. And they went back to the fundamental character traits of Peter Parker and Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Wrote another story and then built a video game around it. So by the end of that game, I was crying my eyes out by the end of that game. And I know for a fact, because the internet exists, that I'm not the only one. Because I've seen other people talk, like YouTubers have made videos about it. Like that's honestly the best written version of Spider-Man since Tobey Maguire's portrayal of Spider-Man in the Sam Raimi films. Like it's tremendous. It's ridiculous from a video game.
So I think obviously it's interesting that you highlight that because it you know, there's no disputing it. It's the truth. That's sort of the influence of film in the video game realm. Like for example, one of the best examples that I can think of is, that was interesting because a company recently put up on their Instagram feed about Call of Duty World at War.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Isn't
remember,
that old Call of Duty though?
yeah, that's like throwing it way back,
Call of Duty 5.
something like that. And one of the opening scenes in the campaign is, I think it's Stalingrad. If I've got that city wrong,
Yeah.
don't crucify me. But where you and Reznov have basically have got to lay still.
Oh, that's Black Ops, Dad.
No, it's not.
Reznov, that's Black Ops.
No, it's not, Shaun.
Google it.
Shaun, I am a student of this game. He's in World at War 2.
Is he?
Yep. And you've got to lay still among a pile of dead bodies.
That's Black Ops.
It's not. We're not.
Victor Reznov.
Victor Reznov is a character that appears in multiple Call of Duties. In the Black Ops, he's a figment of your imagination because he's already died at that point.
Spoiler alert.
You're gonna question my knowledge about Call of Duties. I'll crucify you, mate.
Wait, hang on. That's a pure revelation to me, that. So he's in World at War as well, when he's actually alive.
He's he's one of the key characters in World at War.
Ah.
And have you ever seen the film featuring Jude Law, Enemy at the Gates?
No.
No, there's a scene that basically imitates, basically the scene in the video game pays homage to the scene in the film. And I would like to think, Shaun, that in 30 to 40 years' time, there'll be certain scenes from your own movies that get replicated in some video games. And I know in the last podcast that you jumped on with me, when I quizzed you on, what's next in terms of the film director inspiration. What's next in terms of your film directing career? That you said you had another film in the works. So, update, please.
I think when we spoke last time, I'd just come out with The Last Millennial.
Yeah.
and I had a little idea for it. It was just that. It was just an idea. It hadn't really gone any further than my own like initial ideas. But I wasn't sure whether I actually wanted to make it. And I've since decided that I didn't. Not that it's not ever going to be made. Like it could potentially become something in the future, but I what I've been working on lately is it's like a dual effort between me and a friend of mine, Paddy Rowan. He's an actor. You might have seen him in. Did you see Little Boy Blue?
Yeah, I know Paddy through association anyway, but yeah, I've seen Little Boy Blue.
Well, Paddy sort of reached out to me on Twitter. I just asked on Twitter. I'd just come out of uni. I had a lot of free time. I was working part time, and I was fresh out of uni with a degree in filmmaking. But obviously, where I am and where I live, I feel like there's not a lot of people around me who want to make movies, basically. So I just asked on Twitter to see where it'd go, and Paddy sort of just reached out to me saying like, I don't know whether you know I'm an actor. If you want to talk about ideas and stuff, like, let me know. And we went and met up a few times, like, and just we didn't really talk about making anything together. We sort of just spoke about ourselves and what we're interested in and what we want to do with our lives, basically, and what we want to do with our art. And eventually, we just came up with the idea that we should really be collaborating artistically rather than just talking about it. Yeah. So over like the past few months, this was in like maybe late January. Over the past couple of months, we've sort of taken a very broad concept of things that have happened to me and that have happened to Paddy and that have happened to friends of ours, and sort of rolled it up into a way to capture the life of people our age in the city that we're all from. And I'm pretty excited about it, to be honest. So's Paddy, and so's a lot of the other people who we've spoken to. I feel like it can do. We've got a lot to say with this project, but I feel like what we've got to say is valid, and it's a valid story, and it's an important one that needs to be told.
Do any scenes in the movie take place in the Raz at 5 o'clock in the morning?
No, but and I understand what you're getting at, and I feel like there's definitely part of the story that explore what you're trying to what you're trying to talk about. Yeah.
No, it would be nice to see. I think you would have to say that to sort of, you'd have to find a generic middle ground, as it were, to sort of bottle the experience, if that makes sense. And I think it's doable. Obviously with things like Top Boy out there at the minute.
Doable. But I feel like the Top Boy example is sort of we really didn't want to. I'm not saying Top Boy is a cliche, but we really didn't want to do anything that was too cliche, and we didn't want to do things that we have no understanding of.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I mean. Like,
yeah,
like obviously, like we're not from London. We didn't. I mean, there are some elements that are the same, but there are some elements that are entirely different. So that's what I mean, and like the specific niche of being in town, like at 5 o'clock in the morning, trying to source a Delta to get home, like
Yeah.
just those little things. Like I feel like it's doable to translate through the art of film, and
Yes,
you know,
definitely. Well, I don't know. I feel like as long as I feel like it all begins with story, and if the story is valid and interesting, then you're gonna be able to make it.
yeah,
That makes sense. As long as you can imagine it, and you know that the story is valid, then I feel like actually making the film it'll definitely come.
yeah.
Mm.
Please tell me that you're gonna attempt to do a scene that replicates me and you getting kicked out of Fusion on my 18th birthday.
I think that's just for me and you, that Max. I like it. Why was that though?
Right, we gone in, and there was a group of
He was like, "Can I give you my son's number?" He would give me son a ring because he hasn't really got that many mates, and used to seem like decent lads.
I
But
remember him.
I don't know what to say to him. I was like, "My phone's broke, you know."
I remember going into Fusion, and obviously with it being my birthday, there was a group of Irish lads in there, and the moment that they had wind of it, it was my birthday. They come over with a tray of shots of like tequila, um, sambuca, which makes me physically sick.
I don't even remember any of that.
Sours, and I think that was the start of the beginning of the end. To be honest with you, mate. And I remember me and you going out for a smoke and trying to get back in, and the bouncers just saying, "I think you've had enough. I think you've had enough, fellas."
I don't even remember that, lad. I'm going to be brutally honest with you. Fucking hell. They're probably in the right to do so, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't blame them. Like, you know, with Fusion got changed 21s and over club now.
Really?
Yeah,
Why?
I to be honest with you, mate, I think it's too many 17-year-old Ketwigs finding the way in, and
Or 18-year-old students from down south who've never known freedom before.
you're telling
I
me.
think that's more accurate, to be honest.
I've got to be
Do
honest with you,
you
though, mate.
remember being in first year uni?
Yep.
How old were you in first year? Because I was 21.
I
I was already older than people
I
who were third year at that point.
18,
18, well, exactly like what I'm trying to say is basically when I went to uni, I was 21. So I was the same age, if not older, than people who were in third year ready to graduate.
Mm-hmm.
So when I went to uni, I'd been 18, I'd been 19, and I'd been 20. Like I'd been through that stage in my life where I'm finally old enough to go out and drink legally, and I'd made the most of it. And I'd been through the phase of experimenting with other things. I found my own independence. So by the time I got to uni, I felt as though I was like I was a lot more grown up than a lot of the people who I shared a building with and shared a flat with,
Mm.
especially in first year. So when you have freshers like your first week at uni and things like that. So when freshers came around and we were going on nights out and we were like bevying in the flats and that, I'd been doing that
Yeah,
for 3 years,
yeah.
4 years. Like even before I was 18, like I'd been doing that for a long time. But a lot of the people there, this was their first ever experience with being able to drink, not having to go home to the parents afterwards, like having their own freedom. And a lot of people don't really know how to deal with that. So I'm sure anybody listening to this who's been to uni will understand, like, especially going to uni after you turn 18, 19, 20, if you go as an older student, it's some of the things, it's ridiculous, that. It's honest to God ridiculous.
I've found that, like, obviously, I guess my third year's finished now, given that we've all been given our marching orders and sent home, but I went out with Honor and Ross. I've got to be honest, I think it was like me second night out of third year. We went to 256, mate, and everything that you've just said, that sort of been there, done that, got the t-shirt, that sort of dissociated feeling. Like, I'm standing there, and you know what 256 is like. They overpopulate massively. Like they just send everyone in, and then you can just about breathe. And I was just like, you know what? I've lived this life now. Like, there's other things in my life.
I enjoy having a bevy with me mates, but I'm definitely over, like, clubbing. You know what I mean? I don't think unless it's absolutely necessary that I have to go there, I don't think I'll ever step foot in the club again.
I agree. I mean, I'm quite looking forward to having a night out in town once this quarantine businesses.
I'm happy in a beer that me. That'll do me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I much prefer pub culture to club culture, as it were. But I've got to be honest with you, mate. Though I don't quite think it will be normal service resume once this is blown over. You know, I think this will be. I think we're entering a new time.
To be honest, I think it's gonna last a very long time.
I agree, and as I was saying, like, our generation has never experienced anything like this in our sort of lifespan. I've been doing some sort of background research and reading like medical reports and stuff, and one of the only sort of comparisons that we have is influenza and the Spanish flu from around, like the early 1900s. So, that's such a long time since society's ever had to deal with some sort of pandemic, and with social media as well, that it's just an entire new beast. So whereas in the early 1900s, you literally only had to deal with your immediate communities, and
whatever the town crier said was gospel as well.
Yeah,
there's so many different places that information's coming from. You don't know what's true and what isn't.
Exactly. And I mean, as I was saying, like, from a time where everyone had sort of huddled around the radio or the black and white television at a certain time to get certain news, now people can't switch off. Like, I will fully admit that I am addicted to my phone, and I'm addicted to, basically screen time. Like, my screen time is absolutely ridiculous, and it's something that I detest about myself. I'm actively seeking out ways to, like, reduce my screen time and stop being on my phone so much. Like, I'm reading, and that's one good way to try and navigate around it. But it's sort of frequently checking all your different news feeds, especially now when you're in lockdown and there's not much else to do. Like, I mean, you can only do keepy up easies in your garden for so long. You know what I mean?
Did you keep yours with the bog roll?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you did, lad.
I didn't.
I reckon you well did. Remember the ice bucket challenge?
Who nominated me for that?
I don't know, but you nominated me.
Yeah, I remember.
I didn't do it. I was a protest.
Yeah, I got nominated by a close childhood friend, and I nominated you little shitbag.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a shitbag thing. It was I'm not doing it out of a protest sort of thing. And also, They didn't want to go out and buy ice. A lot of people were just doing it with a bucket of warm water out the kitchen tap. That doesn't really count. I was like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it properly. I'm going to get ice and do it properly. But then I couldn't be bothered.
Fair
That's
enough.
what it was for me. So before we go, right, I want to ask you, Erling Haaland, who now plays for Dortmund, who's been absolutely ridiculous in front of goal since January, since he signed for Dortmund. Obviously, not recently because the footy's off. But I want to ask you, do you think, obviously, he's the son of what Alf Inge Haaland, was it? Alf Haaland?
Yeah, Alf
Who
Inge.
played for City and Leeds, if I'm not
Mhm.
mistaken.
Yeah, and Erling Haaland's dad
Yeah.
also played alongside Giovanni Reina's dad, who also plays for Dortmund at the minute. And Claudio Reina also played for Manchester City alongside Haaland's dad, which is
Did they play together?
pretty bizarre to think now
I
that
didn't think they played together.
Haaland and Reina now play together for Dortmund, which would make, apparently, Haaland was born in Leeds, Reina was born in Sunderland, although he represents the US national team. And obviously you've got Sancho, who was born in London. So there's essentially there's a British contingent that runs through that Dortmund side now, which is pretty cool. But go on.
Yeah, that is cool, isn't it? I didn't even think about that.
What's the question?
So the question is, do you think Erling Braut Haaland is the first professional footballer to be better than his father, who was also another professional footballer?
Oh,
Or do you think out of every professional footballer to have a son who was also a professional footballer, out of the second generation, do you think Haaland is the best?
well, there's one example.
Considering he's only 19 or 20.
There's one example that's what I was going to say. Given that Haaland is so young,
Yeah.
it would be a pretty early call. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
he's developed a reputation now of being like a robot. You know what I mean? Like just a goal scoring machine. But the one example that springs to mind is Cesar Maldini and Paolo Maldini. Now, I have.
But isn't the three generations of Maldini?
There is Daniel Maldini, who earlier this year made his debut for AC Milan as well. I think that's absolutely fantastic that bloodline sort of is represented.
Paolo definitely best than. Well, I can't say definitely because I'm only 23. I didn't see his dad play footy.
Well, I was going to say, unfortunately, and as far as I know, they're asymptomatic, but both Daniel and Paolo have been diagnosed and tested positive for the coronavirus. As we know,
Jeez.
Italy is a hotspot for the disease at the minute. So wishing nothing but good health to them, and fingers crossed that they recover from that pretty quickly. Now, Cesar Maldini, on the other hand, played for Milan between 1954 and 1966, made 347 appearances, 4 Serie A's, and 1 European Cup. Whereas Paolo Maldini.
Are you going to try and tell me the dad was better than Paolo?
No, I'm making the case Paolo's better. Paolo's won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Serie A's, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 European Cup / Champions League. That is fucking insane.
Okay, fair. What about I'm trying to think of players whose dads were pros. I'm not trying to think of pros who had kids. I think Frank Lampard, his dad was a pro, wasn't he?
For West Ham. The
It's actually Frank Lampard as well.
Is it Frank and Frank Lampard? The Kluivert, Patrick Kluivert and Justin Kluivert. I had really high hopes for Justin Kluivert when he was at Ajax, thinking he was going to be the next best thing. He's transferred to Roma, and he still might, as I say, early days. I think he's early 20s, but he's not he hasn't had that sort of same trajectory as the likes of Haaland. Danny and Daley Blind.
If you transfer to that league, the Serie A, especially at a young age, it's very, very, very difficult to establish yourself as a world-class player. I believe. I don't know. Maybe that's just prejudice against the Serie A because I don't know. Maybe it's like the old-fashioned ideology of it's a boring league.
No, I'd certainly say there's been a strong upturn in competitive performance in Serie A as of late. Obviously, you've had a plethora of high-profile transfers. Lukaku,
or to Juventus,
Ronaldo. No, Inter Milan are pushing.
Pushing now, like how far behind, like
only a few points. They were on top until Juventus had a couple of wins back to back. But just to go back to the father and son question, another Ajax example. Ajax are just a phenomenal club. Danny and Daley Blind. Danny.
Wait, who's Danny, the dad or the son?
Danny's the dad, and he was also a coach. He was a coach involved at the national team level, and I think at Ajax as well. I think Danny was actually better there. Peter and Kasper Schmeichel, of course. I don't think Kasper's better than Peter, though.
Peter. What about the Redknaps? Was Harry Redknapp any good? I know Jamie was the Spice Boy, played for Liverpool, Tottenham and that, but was Harry Redknapp any good? I can't remember Harry Redknapp not being an old man. He's always been an old man.
Yeah, it's well before our time, Harry Redknapp in his playing days, mate.
Who else? Can you think of anybody else whose dad was also a pro?
Zidane's got. I know he's got a couple of sons in the.
Isn't his son goalie or something?
Yeah, Luca. Luca's a goalkeeper. Also, while I essentially had nothing but time, I watched the '98 World Cup final and the 2006 World Cup final, and Zinedine Zidane is just a different gravy. Like, honest to God,
mad, isn't he? He's ridiculous.
What a player! He's so good. But in answer to your question, I'd have to go with Paolo Maldini
being the best player to be the son of a professional.
Yeah, the successor of his father, and
being the dad, lad, you'd be gutted, wouldn't you?
No,
did you?
To be fair though, as the dad, if you're winning league titles and European cups, and then your offspring goes and wins almost treble the amount of what you've won,
yeah, you'd be gutted, lad.
I'd be proud.
Yeah, you'd be proud, obviously, but deep down, you'd be proud, but deep down, you'd be a bit gutted. Come on, lad.
That's just you. I'd love to see my offspring.
My dad would be gutted. I know that. He's a good fella, but he'd be fuming. Yeah.
Nah, that'd be nice though. But yeah, that was an interesting question to sign off with. And if you wouldn't mind, lad, considering that we're on lockdown for the foreseeable future, just brainstorm things that you'd like to talk about, and we'll do a couple of podcasts over the next few weeks.
Right. Of course. Should we do a series?
Yeah, if you want, man. If you want to take concepts and sort of flesh them out, and we'll do podcasts themed on concepts. Then
we'll give it 2 weeks, and we'll do another one. We'll do an hour every 2 weeks.
Okay, man.
Just drop in and try and keep people entertained. Keep each other entertained.
Happy days.
Go on, well, thanks for having me on again.
No worries, brother. As always, as I said, you're my red band.
You're my red band, lad.
Shut up, lad. Scouse Rogan.
I'll be young Jamie, I'm happy with that.
Pull that up. Take it easy, brother. I'll speak to you soon.
Catch you later.
Signing off this episode of the Carlyle podcast. Stay safe in quarantine. Stop hoarding food and toilet roll.
Oh yeah, stop eating rats.
Yeah, be civilized, please. You can get by with your weekly shop as per.
And wash your fucking hands, you dirty scrubby bastards.
Yeah. Right. Ta-da.
Good night.